Welcome back to the preview show. I'm Casey Campbell with Great Lakes Post. We are back to the future, back to the past, whatever you want to call it. The original show cast is here with myself and Jonathan Fiel from the Racing Experts, of course, and you can also see him on KOB4. Jonathan had quite a busy day today, so we'll not get into that. But he did have a busy day. You all right there, buddy?
I'm doing good. A bad day would have been a day where everything just completely went bad. But today was a pretty good day, all things considered. I had to change a flat tire and do all that, and it's tedious, but we got through.
We got through it. Yeah, it's been one of those days. We all have those days. But we got some excitement this weekend. NASCAR is heading to Kansas Speedway for an interesting weekend. The Hollywood Casino 400 for the Cup Series, the Kansas Lottery 300, and then we got an ARCA championship we have to set. Well, it's already settled. The Reese's 150 for the ARCA Menard Series. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's get to everything that happened last weekend at Texas. Congratulations to Kyle Larson. Got it done. Got it done on Sunday. Actually, an interview that's going to be teased up there. I actually got a chance to speak with Cliff Daniels today. So look for that conversation as well. That will be up maybe possibly tomorrow. So stay tuned on that one. So, but overall, Kyle Larson's going to race for a championship. That 5 team, there were a lot of questions at the beginning of the season, but it looks like 5 team is the team to beat as of right now, especially on these mile and a halves.
5 team is the team to beat, especially at Texas there. He had a really great race at Texas Motor Speedway. Nobody could touch him. I've never had a time where I've been watching a NASCAR race and I thought, nobody has passed him in a long, long time. And sure enough, nobody passed Kyle Larson for a very long time, 218 laps to be exact. At the end of the race, he took the lead on lap 117 and never looked back. It was an impressive win. Most consecutive laps led ever in Texas Motor Speedway history. So really impressive performance by Kyle Larson. Just overall, his season has been really great. I broke this down a little bit because I saw some people commenting on Twitter just about how many laps he's led this season. His season is reaching quite possibly historic metrics because he's about to break, if he can lead enough laps, Jeff Gordon's record for most laps led in a 36 race season, and he only has 3 races to go to do it. He's only 53 laps away from breaking that record. Just amazing. He's led 27.9% of the laps this season. So Kyle Larson on top of the world right now. He's got 2 weeks to prepare for Phoenix. The whole team does. He's dangerous.
Yeah, that's something that Cliff Daniels actually kind of talked about when I talked with him today. Always thank you to Hendrick Motorsports for setting that up. So the great John Edwards set that up for me. Of course, longtime PR guy for Jeff Gordon, now with Kyle Larson. So appreciate John and all he's done for the sport. So there's a lot of interesting things. A lot of drivers ran into some trouble. Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, just name a few. I know those Gibbs cars.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin especially. He had 2 incidents in the closing laps of the race. Still managed to finish 11th. That was impressive. Just the execution that the 11 team had to be able to have the issue on lap 315, to have the issue on lap 329, and still come back to get an 11th place finish. That was really impressive, and it really shows how Hamlin and his team have championship level execution to be able to have a problem like that like the first problem might have taken somebody out of the race and taken them out of contention for a good finish. But they came back, they got beaten down, and they came back again. And I think that Denny Hamlin is going to be someone to watch at Kansas, just given just how strong the team is, even when they're beaten down, because like they say, ultimately your character is tested not when you're at your highest of highs, but when you're at your lowest of lows. And Denny Hamlin and his team's character was spot on and stellar.
Yeah, for sure. We got to see some things out of these Toyotas. We know Denny Hamlin can compete. He has not won a championship yet. Neither is Kyle Larson, but they need to find a way to get that magic back. They need to get a win. Kansas has been a good track for Denny over the years, so maybe he'll get a win there. Another driver that needs to find a way to victory lane desperately is Joey Logano.
Yeah, Joey Logano. It's weird to see the type of season he's had. Not weird in some senses because Logano tends to sneak out that random win at the beginning of the season or at some point in the season and kind of lock himself into the playoffs and make it to the playoffs and then turn it up a little bit. But we haven't seen Logano really turn up the performance in the playoffs like we're used to. And his metrics are off. I mean, this is the second least amount of or third least amount of laps he's led in a season while with Penske. His average finish is the worst since 2013, not counting 2017 as well. Top 10s are down, top 5s are down. It's just kind of an off season for Logano, and really weird to see how Logano had the engine failure at such a critical time because he hadn't had an engine failure in 7 years. And now in a race like that where he needed to be able to get going and earn some points and get good for the cut line, falter. Obviously out of his control, but just very weird to see Joey Logano in these circumstances.
Absolutely. Someone that we didn't think that would be in these types of playoffs, but is Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, I think we talked about that the other day about how Brad has been kind of invisible for his standards, at least this season. But now as we're getting deeper and deeper into the playoffs, like Brad's slowly turning it up. It's not like he's dominating. It's not like he's going out there and performing like Kyle Larson or even like Denny Hamlin is. But to be able to be at the end of a race like Texas, where he was sitting second, third, fourth, after quietly managing the attrition, managing the race, letting the race come to him, it's impressive. It's going to be interesting to see if Keselowski is able to perform at Kansas, because that has been the Achilles heel for that team in recent times, at least in the fall race, especially in 2018, where he was in solidly, and then we got a rash of late race cautions, fell out. It'd be interesting to see what Keselowski can do, because we know Keselowski can perform at Martinsville. He could get a win there and get in that way, but it'll be interesting just to see what he can do at Kansas.
Absolutely. We've covered pretty much everybody except Chase Elliott. He had an interesting race at Texas.
He did, yeah. And Kevin Harvick comments after the race, talking about Chase. That rivalry isn't going to die, and it's kind of fun to watch. But you know what? Once again, Chase Elliott, he's been good this season, but he just hasn't been at that level that he was at last season. Could eke his way into a championship 4 bid or a championship 4 spot, but really just been really quiet this season. Still doing really well, but just not quite where he was last season.
Yep. So I have to see there. What an interesting weekend at Texas Motor Speedway, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's before we get into Kansas, let's get into some headlines this week. Dean Thompson announced this week, of course, you may know him from the ARCA West Series, that he will be running in the ARCA Menard Series race at Kansas Speedway for Nice Motorsports. He'll be in the 50 car this week, and then he'll also be running in the truck race at Phoenix towards the end of the season. Nice will, and I also confirmed that Nice will be running 4 trucks this weekend. So that is good to see. They haven't run 4 trucks in a while. Big news from the Rev Racing stable, kind of. Nick Sanchez will be running part-time for BJ McLeod Motorsports in the Xfinity Series part-time. Of course, it was already announced that he'll be running in the ARCA Menard Series full-time for Rev Racing, along with also Raja Karuth, who will be running, of course, part-time for Alpha Prime Racing, which is also Martin's Motorsports, which will be Alpha Prime Racing next season. That's a cool opportunity. Obviously, as you know, I've worked a lot with Rev Racing this year, especially with Nick and Raja. What is it like to see both of those drivers get some opportunities in Xfinity? Because I think I think it's good. A lot of opportunities, and I've had a chance to talk to a lot of these drivers throughout the year. Probably as much as I can, from probably a lot. So overall, what do you think about it?
It's a great opportunity, albeit it was with SHR personnel, but we've seen the BJ McLeod cars do pretty good. And so I think this could be a good opportunity for Nick Sanchez. And both of those drivers have good talent. And of course, they're going to be running ARCA full time next season. To be able to step up to the Xfinity Series, each of them, I think that's going to be really good. The Xfinity cars are harder to drive than, say, like a truck or, even Cup Series car. So I think this will really allow Raja and Nick to home in on their racecraft a little bit more, where you have drivers that it's more of a competitive field and you're driving harder cars. So I think it will really allow them, when combined with the ARCA experience, to really home in on their talent and really advance themselves. It's going to be exciting. It's great to see, too, with everything that Rev Racing is doing as well, being able to push their drivers and give them good opportunities and get diversity into the sport, too. Because like we saw with Bubba Wallace being able to win, and Daniel Suarez being able to do what he's doing with Pitbull and Trackhouse, it's a great time for NASCAR, and Haley Deegan as well in the Truck Series. Great time for NASCAR to be really diversifying and really just kind of welcoming a new audience in without, giving up like who they are specifically.
Don't forget Gracie Trotter as well. Of course, she won
exactly
first female to win in the ARCA brand. Of course, won the ARCA West race last year at the Bull Ring.
So, Brittany Zamora, that's another one.
Yeah,
does some races.
There's going to be some actually coming down the pipe, and I know that's something you've actually been passionate about as well. So that's going to be could be interesting stuff from there. More good news this weekend. Brandon Jones also it was announced by Joe Gibbs Racing that Brandon Jones will be returning to the Xfinity Series next season in the 19 car. It was also announced that Jeff Mendering, his crew chief, will be back. And Menards will also be back, and back in a big way. They will be sponsoring all 33 races this season, this coming season for the 19 and Brandon Jones. I got to say, this is, and we were talking about this before, Brandon Jones has had quite the year this year. Yes, he hasn't won, and yes, those Gibbs cars haven't won. Besides, that 54 All-Star car with Kyle Busch, John Hunter, Christopher Bell, and who can forget Ty Gibbs. So overall, this is a good move, because Brandon Jones has had a pretty good run. Yes, he hasn't won, but he's had a pretty good year so far, and still fighting for a championship.
Yeah, and I just want to pull this factoid out because I found it, and I know you're smiling a little bit at the beginning when you're talking about Brandon Jones. I know exactly why, because Brandon Jones has scored the most points at Kansas Speedway in the last 5 races there. I just wanted to throw that out there. But Brandon Jones, though, he is a driver who's really come into his own, because when he first came into the NASCAR Xfinity Series, a lot of people were questioning, why is he here? Why is he racing full-time in the series? He's got limited experience, but, he's really become a driver of his own, even beyond the typical pay driver moniker that he has often gotten. He has good talent. He's really homed in on it well. It's going to be exciting to see what he does over the next couple seasons. And he's young, too. I mean, he's early 20s, working on homing in on his racecraft more and more. We could see a time come where Brandon Jones might make a run up to the Cup Series, maybe 2311 or, maybe JGR, maybe one of the Toyota teams someday. We'll just have to see, but it's great to see him come back and continue to grow and develop and continue to get better as a driver.
Yep, 25 years old. So, definitely will be returning for his 5th season with Joe Gibbs Racing. And yeah, I mean, it's some good stuff there. How about it? Let's do an interesting announcement. Let me find it. Let me find it here. Hype Motorsports. I don't know if you've heard of it,
Mhm.
Jonathan, but you and I were
Yeah.
kind of talking about this. This is, you know about this one, right? I'm gonna
Hmm. I
say.
know about that.
So they're actually going to be starting a Pitside Live. It's a show basically like a college game day if you've ever watched that, or now for NASCAR fans it's like everyone misses NASCAR race day. Back during the speed days or the trackside show, a lot of people were saying that, and I actually talked to Alex Jorgensen, the founder of Hype Motorsports, and they're actually going to create a show for short track racing, and that's something that obviously you and I have talked about, and I've obviously grown a lot in the short track community and stuff, and trying to make my way known. We're starting to see big drivers starting to go down there. No, you and I were talking about the Winchester 400, watching that on Nav while the Cup race is going on at Texas. So overall, this is going to be an interactive show. I know they got a lot of big plans that they're talking about. I know with everything with High Motorsports and also Speed 51, this is a big investment, and I think a lot of people are really really excited about this.
It's really exciting. We're seeing a lot of different media coverage really being focused toward short track racing and these different short tracks in the country. I think it's very exciting because there's passionate fans, there's great racing, there's a lot to be desired in there. And also shout out to Speed 51 as well, because Matt Weaver just recently got hired as editor in chief over there. Great mind to have behind that project. This is going to be exciting. I really, knowing the short track crowd, it's going to be really fun to watch these shows and see the interactions with the fans. And it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, I know that there are a lot of people going to be involved. I wouldn't be too surprised if Judson O'Neill wasn't involved in some way, shape, or form with this. So, I mean, he's only 13, but he's all around these short tracks. So that's definitely going to be there. And also, one other note that also obviously broke yesterday: NASCAR driver Carson Ware, of course, the younger brother of Cody Ware, was arrested Wednesday before up race there. Just a tough situation all around. Rick Ware Racing, and he was scheduled to run the Kansas Xfinity race for SS Greenlight. So definitely a tough situation there. He was arrested Wednesday morning on misdemeanor charges of assault on female, simple assault, and injury to personal property. His court date will be November 19th. Garrett Smithley will be in the 17 this weekend for the SS Greenlight team. He has also been indefinitely suspended by SS Greenlight Racing along with NASCAR. We'll have updates on that. Stay tuned to my Twitter account, and we'll also keep you updated here on the preview show. All right, all right. That's the news for the week. Not a lot of silly season news. More to come. Yes, there will be more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there will be more. There's still a lot of rides that are going to be out there. And from what I've heard, there's going to be some surprises that I think a lot of people aren't going to expect. So,
Oh, yeah. Some good things, too.
Yes. So, we got a big weekend ahead in Kansas. Of course, the trucks are off again. The good news is they'll be back next week for Martinsville, and of course, we'll be at the championship finale at Phoenix. But it'll be the ARCA Menard Series. They will be having their championship race this weekend, the Reese's 150. We talked about this in the ARCA preview show. Charlie Crawl, the PR director of ARCA, mentioned this. All Ty Gibbs has to do is take the green flag, and he wins the championship. That 18 team has been strong, came on strong a lot. And also, it's just it's that car that's been really, really good. I know we had a good battle for most of the season because Corey Heim was toe in toe with Ty, and then the 20 team just had some really not so good runs to not keep this championship close. And then Ty will clinch the championship once the race starts, and he will be the 2021 ARCA Menard Series champion. But 11 wins on the season. I mean, 10
Yeah.
wins, 11 wins. Am I
Yeah.
something?
10 wins on the season for Ty Gibbs. I mean, no matter how the Kansas race ends, he's batting 500 on the season. We're not talking about top fives, top tens, polls. We're talking wins. It's been an amazing season for Ty Gibbs, being able to have the success he's had. But I want to give a big shout out to Corey Heim, because even though he's going to come up a bridesmaid this season, what a season he's had. Because it was last year at Kansas, that he won and burst onto the scene. I still remember, and we were at our place and we missed the ARCA race, and we heard who won, and a couple of my friends were like, who? Corey Heim? Corey who? And now, one season later, Corey Heim, top of the world, great season, 6 wins, 15 top fives, 19 top tens, lots of laps led. Also matched Ty Gibbs's average finish for the season. Of course, there were some bigger field races that kind of skewed that number a little bit, but it doesn't take anything away from the season that Corey Heim has had. And I think he can feel very happy just knowing what an impact he's made on his career, and just, the sport overall with the season that he's had.
Absolutely. And, 6 wins normally would be a good season, but it is still a good season no matter what. Venturini Motorsports, they've got it, even though they didn't win the championship, and obviously there's nothing like winning, and obviously it's either your first or your last. But it is still a good. Venturini Motorsports, I think, should look back. This is still a good season for them, no matter what, and a good season for Toyota. Oh boy, I think they've won pretty much every race except for like 2. So
2, yep. Daniel Dye and Landon Lewis got wins for Chevrolet.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely going to be a good season for sure. Catch the ARCA race. It'll be on Mav TV, or you can see. And if you don't get Mav TV, I do get Mav TV. Yes, my cable package does get Mav TV. Yes, I still have cable. You can also stream it on Track Pass as well. And you can only $2.99 a month, and you can also catch the ARCA West finale. I've heard that car count's going to be good. Mav TV, actually no, not Mav TV, exclusively on Track Pass. It will be tape delayed on NBCSN literally after the season. Charlie Crawl will, of course, be on the call for that one. So the Xfinity race will be at Kansas as well. And I haven't really talked about the Xfinity series. What is Daniel Hemrick going to win or something? I'm so close, but he's yet so far.
He's so close. You talk about a lot of different winless drivers, and sometimes you can point to that specific X factor of okay, this isn't why this driver hasn't won yet this season, or this is why they haven't won yet in their career. Daniel Hemrick, that X factor is just luck. Honestly, it is just luck. Whether it's the Atlanta race, where Kyle Busch was trying to push him and help him, and he ended up spinning him out in a once in a grand occurrence, or just what happened last week where his team took 4 tires, and then John Hunter Nemechek took 2, and then Harrison Burton stayed out and just couldn't catch the 54. It's just been luck. And I think this weekend is a good shot for Daniel Hemrick to finally get that win. Back in 2018, Daniel Hemrick led this race, actually, funny enough, over John Hunter Nemechek going into final pit stops, and then John Hunter Nemechek passed him, toward the end. This is a good track for Daniel Hemrick. This is going to be a good weekend. Of course, we have said that so many times about Daniel Hemrick that it's like a broken record at this point, but this genuinely could be a good weekend for Daniel Hemrick to not only get his first win, but also lock into the championship 4. Only 2 points behind, so even if he just has a solid finish, he's going to get one step closer. I'm just thinking of the prospect of him going to Phoenix winless and either winning the championship without a win, or winning the championship and getting his first career win, which would be an amazing feeling. Whatever it is, Daniel Hemrick is going to be a very interesting story to follow.
We're going to see a backflip if Daniel Hemrick wins, and that will be fun for sure. You mentioned Brandon Jones, of course, got his first win at Kansas a few years ago. Last time we were at the Xfinity race, a car was upside down. That was Anthony Alfredo. The reason why I say that is you got a chance to talk to him this week. I know we're kind of shifting gears and going to the Cup Series a little bit since he is in that race, but that happened in the Xfinity Series. What was that like talking to him? Just kind of preempting that.
Well, we talked about just what his season's been like, being a rookie who hasn't been able to get much track time. Practice qualifying has been very limited this season. It's been very hard for him. And he mentioned that the simulation, he's an avid iRacer, and he mentioned that the simulations have been really helpful. Obviously, you can't, simulate a 130-degree environment, where you're facing G loads and whatnot, but he has a full containment simulation, does iRacing, and that's really helped him to know the different bumps of the racetrack, the different nuances, the different spots, to be able to get in the car and get over some of the barriers that come with being a rookie. He also mentioned that he's leaned on Michael McDowell a lot this season, David Gilliland, David Reagan, of course, all, David Reagan, David Gilliland, all former front row racers. And it sounds like the simulation has been a big help for him in just doing his first ever full-time season, any of the top 3 national series.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I want to also mention, since we kind of shifted to the Cup Series, we didn't actually finish the Xfinity talk. We'll talk more about that maybe later on. I don't know, but
we gotta do picks, yeah.
I want to give it. We'll get to the picks in a minute. I got to give a shout out to Eric Jones. That team is real. I don't know if you saw this today. I posted on Twitter today. That team, Eric Jones, the last 3 races, he has finished no worse than 17th. So I'll tell you what, that Richard Petty Motorsports has really picked up their performance today. Picked up their performance in 2021. It's up there. In the last 3 races, Eric Jones has finished no worse than 17th. And here's another thing. Since the IMS road course, Jones has had 3 top 10 finishes and only 3 finishes outside of the top 20. So that Richard Petty Motorsports has really picked up their performance, and I think that's a credit. When Jerry Baxter joined the team in 2020, we saw it with Bubba in 20, and then we're seeing it now with Eric Jones. RPM is really starting to pick up their performance. They've had a good stretch of races, and this is coming off a stretch of races where they really didn't have a good run.
Yeah, they've really gelled and meshed. Even at Las Vegas, where they had the poor finish, Eric Jones ran pretty solidly at the start of the race, was running around the top 10, did pretty good. And, I think it really, not to discredit anything that RPM is doing, but I think it really shows the talent that Eric Jones has. We saw him in the Xfinity Series, we saw him in the Truck Series, how well he did, to some extent in the Cup Series as well. Don't want to discredit that. But, just the talent that he has, he brings a lot to the team. And I think next season, as we transition into the next generation car, he's going to be a real important asset for that team, along with Jerry Baxter. Because at the start of the season, it's going to be as level of a playing field as we've ever seen in maybe even NASCAR history, just with how new everything is going to be. And so I think Eric Jones is going to be a really valuable asset, just with the talent that he has, the input that he has, Jerry Baxter, and his smarts and his talent that he brings. RPM might be someone to watch out for at the start of the season next season.
All right. Well, it's you know what it's time for, Jonathan?
It's time to do them picks.
Yep, it is time to do them picks. The picks are sponsored by Mitchell Brewer. Don't know what it is. But
Lost in Minnesota.
Don't you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, let's start with the Arca Menard series, the Reese's 150, as I mentioned. And as you know, Jonathan, I have a golden rule when it comes to picking the Arca Menard series. And for the final time this season, I get to say never, and I mean never, pick against Ty Gibbs. I'm going Ty Gibbs, the 2021 Arca Menard series champion.
Yeah, who can argue against a good championship coronation? I'm gonna go with Ty Gibbs as well. Win number 11 on the season. Yeah, caps it off just right.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And Ty Gibbs has some. Remember in this race last year, he did not. I think he had some engine trouble. And then in May earlier this year, he led 100 laps. Putting on a. I know he says his favorite driver is Ayrton Senna. Put on a Senna-like performance that day. So we'll get to that in a minute. He's also in the Xfinity race, and that's where we go next. That 54 car has been absolutely insane this year. We saw it with John Hunter Nemechek last week. So you know what I got to do, Jonathan?
Oh, what do you got to do?
I got to stick with the Gibbs.
All right, we got John Roberts on the preview show here, except he's evolved from Greg Biffle to Ty Gibbs. I see how it is. Okay. Well, man, I talked about him before.
Yep.
He has had some really good runs at Kansas. He has been on the cusp of winning. He starts on the pole. JGR's had good speed. I say Daniel Hemrick gets his first win at Kansas.
Bold. That is bold right there. That is bold, Jonathan. That's something. Daniel Hemrick, if you're watching this, you need to go out. You need to go get a win, buddy. It'd be so awesome if you did. We'd love to see you do a backflip. That'd be amazing. So, Daniel, of course, yeah, it's gonna be a really, really, really good field. So we'll have to see how this one goes. All right, we got the Cup race, Hollywood Casino 400. I really don't know who to take for this one. Oh wait, I do. The momentum continues. The last 550 race of the Gen 6 car ever. Yep. So we didn't talk about that. We probably a good idea that we didn't. I don't know. All right. You know what? I'm going to go with Kyle Larson.
Ooh.
To get it done, the 5 team on a bit of a momentum. The 5 team is going to make a statement this weekend. Maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe they're going to peak too soon. No. 5 team has been dominant on this 550 package. Got a chance to talk to Cliff Daniels, as I said earlier. Look out for that interview tomorrow. Yeah. I'm going to go with the 5 team.
5 team, Kyle Larson. All right. Well, like you mentioned, we've come to the end of the 550 horsepower era of the Generation 6 car. And one of the drivers that has been really good with this 550 horsepower package in the Gen 6 car has been Brad Keslowski. And he led a lot of laps in the opening stages of the May race. He's been right there. He hasn't been flashy or anything, but I think he makes a statement this weekend. I think he gets win number 2 on the season. He locks himself into the championship 4 in something that you or me probably wouldn't have predicted going into the playoffs. I honestly had him possibly out after the round of 12. Yeah. I think Brad Keselowski is going to get the job done.
Yeah, of course. I think you wouldn't expect with that 2 team. You wouldn't know because he is making a transition next year. You wouldn't notice it with this 2 team right now. But Brad Keselowski is on a bit of a roll. So that's a really good pick. That's a really good pick, Jonathan. And he has won at Kansas before. So we'll have to see there. By the way, if you're going to Kansas this weekend after the Arca Menard Series race, there's going to be fireworks Lots of cool announcements that Kansas Speedway is doing. Always a good time going out there. I know that you've been out there before, Jonathan.
Oh yeah.
Definitely going to be fun there. But that's
Mm-hmm.
going to do it for the preview show this week for Kansas Speedway. Enjoy all the action.
Mm-hmm.
The Xfinity race will be on at 3 p.m. on NBC. You can catch the ARCA Menard Series race literally right after that on MAV TV on Saturday. And then Sunday, the Cup race at Kansas Speedway on NBCSN starting at 3 p.m. All right. That's going to do it for this week. For Jonathan Fiel, I'm Casey Campbell. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next week when we talk the paperclip at Martinsville and see who will go and run for a championship.